We're good? Okay. Calling to order the September 18th West Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency regular meeting. Let's see, let's start at the top. Do we need a roll call? We're all in attendance, we're good there? The dynamic duo is here. Let's start with the top of the agenda, General Administration Part 1, presentations by the public on matters not on the agenda within the jurisdiction of the agency. Do we have any comment cards to speak?
We have no.
Wonderful, thank you. Let's move on to monthly year-to-date revenue and expenses.
Good morning, board members and staff. I'll be reporting out on the revenue and expenditures for the month of July 2025. In Fund 870, the beginning balance was approximately $11.5 million. The agency received a little under $10,000, and majority of that was from a lease payment from one of our local farmers from an agricultural agreement with VR Farms. Expenses were $5,000, making the ending position for Fund 870 at $11.5 million. In Fund 870, the beginning balance was $23.9 million. There was no revenue, and expenses were $59,000, making the ending position for Fund 871 at $23.8 million. The year-to-date cash position for Funds 870, 871, and 257-9919 was at $58.3 million at the end of July, and as of September 11th, it is approximately at $52 million. So the agency did receive the last installment of the assessments for the calendar year, and that was around $294,000. And finance is in the process of closing out the year-end entries, and so we're anticipating that to happen at the end of the calendar year. DWR did approve the LPA reimbursement package number 2, and we're waiting for finance to enter those entries in as well.
Thank you, Jen.
With that,
Yes,
question.
please.
What is the farmer revenue? What is it that we do for the farmer that he's paying us revenue?
so we actually do own that parcel, and so we're allowing that farmer to lease out that land for agricultural purposes like corn, wheat, whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming no comments on that item either. Oh, great. Let's keep moving to the agenda. I've got 2 items on the consent agenda. Consideration of delegating authority to the general manager to enter into agreement with Pacific Gas and Electric for pole relocation. And then we've got consideration of approval of the special meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And then I will second that. All in favor?
Okay.
Aye. And then none opposed. Consent agenda passes. And then moving to the regular agenda, part 3, discussion of our Wsafca member at large. Paul, is that you?
That's me.
Let's roll.
Jen's going to put something up on the screen. This is just a draft. So I've conferred with the city clerk's office in terms of how they go about advertising and getting commissioners. I've adapted some of the questions so that it's more particular to the agency. Met with the attorney on this, just kind of as a draft, provided a little bit of context to what the position would require in terms of being a board member for Wsafca. We felt that we would minimize the qualifications. We're not trying to screen people out necessarily, right? They need to be a resident and 18 years of age. And we're asking a little bit about whether or not they've had past experience being a board member or on a commission before? What are their skills or education that may lend itself to them being a board member? And then, then we also put a disclosure at the end of the document to let them know that this may become public information. Our intent, so this is draft. If you have any comments, I'm open to listening or, addressing anything that you'd like to be included. Our intention is to try to use the utility billings as a way to push out, this is what we're soliciting for right now. This will be posted to the city's website so that people will have an opportunity to go through that process. We'll try to keep it open for a minimum of 3 weeks. Once we launch, given the 3 weeks and, still moving through the administrative process, I would anticipate that we would be looking at candidates sometime in November and hopefully with seating in December. That's how I believe it will roll out.
Do you have any questions? No. My only question is, what is the term of this appointment?
That's a great question.
Do we know?
We could make it, we probably have a lot of flexibility here. We could probably make it an annual term. We could make it perhaps even up to 3 years, or it could be a year and then it could be voted on annually to reaffirm or to solicit again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Didn't we do that annually with our previous chair? Wasn't it annual?
Our positions were.
What about his? How did
I don't know.
we keep
Who's that?
our previous?
Tom, Artie, I think they were just.
So they were, remember, he was part of a separate agency, and so he was representing that agency. And so it didn't go through this kind of process. He was a member of the Reclamation Board, and the Reclamation Board had a seat as part of the Wsafca board.
So my opinion of this is I definitely believe we need term limits. And we should be specific for a 2-year appointment. I'm just going with 2 because that's the city's schedule.
Yep.
And it gives the applicant an idea of how long their commitment is. And then every 2 years, we can decide whether we want to go back out for appointment or reappoint the same person. And I'm not sure if we have to have that form of process, but I'd be comfortable with a 2-year term.
I would.
Okay. We can make that happen.
That would be great.
Appreciate the feedback.
This is great. Thank you for pulling this together. I think it'll be really interesting to see applicants and just them share their knowledge and kind of the history of what they know about the levies. Because I say this all the time. It's been the #1 priority of the city for the last 20 years. And people are like, what? It's not sexy and it's not on top of the radar for folks. So I think it'll be really interesting to see the folks who want to get involved in this position. This is fantastic. Okay, great. So do we need a motion or anything to approve this, or we can just move forward?
We can just move forward. It's just a discussion.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this. And then next item, the agenda 4B was Wsafca project updates.
Thank you. I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about Southport. So Bender Rosenthal, our right-of-way consultant, has delivered 10 new reappraisals. These reappraisals are necessary for crediting with the Army Corps of Engineers. So those are under review, and hopefully they're in a form so that we can get that process rolling in terms of crediting for the Southport project, real estate particularly. On the restoration project, we're continuing to work with the Army Corps of Engineers, and they've also now brought in the Department of Fish and Wildlife from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife so that we can have an open and candid discussion about how to credit the remaining parts of the restoration, the mitigation areas towards future projects, specifically projects that are currently in design, and perhaps beyond that. So that's underway. And when I say we, I mean Jen, completed the 5% cash contribution that the non-federal sponsor has to make to the Army Corps of Engineers. So that total cash outlay between the state and Wsafca is now over $10 million towards the overall West Sacramento project. In terms of the projects that we currently have in construction, The Yola Bypass East Levee. You may find, or if you hear about it, the Army Corps' contractor will be placing rock revetment along the waterside slope over the next couple of weeks to prepare for the upcoming winter season. This is an interim fix as the Army Corps is designing for a permanent repair that will be going on through next year. So I'm not sure they're going to be able to go to construction for a permanent repair in 2026 yet. I'm hoping that they are, because that means that those people can move over to another design effort. So we're still monitoring that, but and trying to, impress upon them the importance of trying to get that completed. The Yola Bypass East Levee North project, all of the equipment to operate the new pump station has arrived. We've been working diligently to secure the easement rights for the PG&E undergrounding of an electrical connection with an existing PG&E pole. This is right over by the courtyard. So hopefully that comes to fruition too. In terms of project and design, our Sacramento River North Levee, the Army Corps has delivered 60% design plans to Wsafca and the state. Reclamation District 900, Wsafca, our consultants, the Indian Heritage Center, and the state all went through those plans. We met on 2 separate occasions to review our comments and consolidate them, and we delivered 200 comments back to the Corps about the plans. My intention is to do a brief kind of overview about what the 60% plans reveal in terms of the construction ideas at the next meeting.
200 comments, that seems like a lot. Is that standard, you think?
I would say it's a considerable amount of comments. We had 2 different technical groups kind of reviewing. We have some disagreements with some of their approaches in terms of the rehabilitation of part of the levee. And so there was a lot of conversation about, there's a lot of comments regarding how did you get to this analysis? How did you determine that? There's some other some of the comments are very cosmetic in nature. And are also trying to, see what we can't do to minimize some of the impacts, especially as it relates to the trees by the Indian Heritage Center. Stone Lock is also in design. The Army Corps has a architectural and engineering firm that is working on that. They've completed the geotechnical data report and moving towards the design report. And later today, I'm meeting with that group to kind of talk about how they might be able to incorporate, or at least not inhibit, some of the Stone Lock Park design into the design for the levee project. So as you may understand, so that for the what they're anticipating is that they're going to have to put in a concrete wall across the locks. So they're determining what the size of that would be. It'll also have some sort of valve-related openings to be able to pass water back and forth. But like I said, they're in preliminary design, and so they want to see what they can't do to try to minimize any effort that would somehow compromise the park design concepts that have been talked about for Stone Lock. Last night, the City Council recognized Colonel Chad Caldwell for his service to the country and his leadership in the Sacramento Army Corps District. And last week, Friday, Jay and myself also met with the new colonel. We had and his chief of staff. I expressed our gratitude for the work that their management has done to resource our project, make sure that we have the resources to keep design and construction moving. I let him know some of the objectives that I have, that I'd like to see during his tenure, because the colonel's transition every 3 years. And that particularly has to do with fixing the levees along the Sacramento River, all the way from the Weir down to Stone Lock. That's our most vulnerable spot, in my opinion, given the dynamics of the Sacramento River and the confluent. We have engaged with a new federal lobbyist, and they are working presently on a strategy and a schedule for us to make headway to ensure that when construction funding is needed, it's going to be there. Having not been in the last two budgets, it hasn't caused any slowdown in terms of work being accomplished. But once we go to construction, that burn rate goes up significantly. And so we would definitely need to make sure that we have sufficient money to be able to have a construction contractor start and finish the work. That concludes my updates to the board.
Wonderful, thank you. Do we have any director's comments?
None.
No, thank you for keeping things moving forward with the uncertainty that exists at this time. If there's no other director's comments, that is 4D. Let's adjourn